All right, Lindsay, the squad wants to cancel rent and mortgage and pay people to stay home. You got to see this tweet from Ilhan Omar. She tweeted, evicting millions of people during a pandemic would be a moral outrage. Cancel rent and mortgage payments now. And you couldn't be a squad effort if it wasn't for AOC. She also tweeted, to get the virus under control, we need to pay people to stay home. Well, let's see what everyone thinks about that. Let's bring in our company on this Friday, the executive director of USA Strong, Aaron Elmore, and healthcare analyst and author of The Cure, a blueprint for solving America's healthcare crisis, Seth Denson. All right, guys. Look, I get it. I don't want anyone to lose their home. I mean, it would be tragic, right? But I also think that, everything can't be free, right? There's a reason we have charities, and I hope to God that anybody that is having a difficult time because of their job and because of COVID and et cetera, that there are organizations out there that can help them. But when you start canceling rent, this is the problem with so many of the folks on the left, that it is not a one-sided equation. Somebody owns that building. They have a mortgage payment to make. They may be a landlord that made that as an investment. Maybe a family bought a townhouse or a second home as an investment for their kids to go to college. I don't know, Seth, but the point is that these discussions are so ridiculous from the squad. Free college, free healthcare, free cable, free everything, but it's not free. Somebody's paying for it, and in this case, in many cases, it's a landlord that has a mortgage themselves.
Well, that's right. And what I don't really understand here is this just a talking point for Twitter, or is this literally a lack of understanding of economics? I mean, so we've already spent $4 trillion on stimulus. Obviously, that didn't do the trick. They proposed another $3 trillion. At this point, Congress is throwing around money like a rock star in a nightclub without any accuracy or specificity of where that money needs to go. This is what they are proposing is roughly $250 billion a month. And to your point, Sean, there ain't no such thing as free.
Aaron, what do you think?
I think we should give them a free economics lesson, because rent and mortgages, they are legally binding contracts that you are obligated to pay under law. And by the way, we're not talking about a Netflix subscription or a dinner reservation here. These are big things like mortgages and rent payments that you cannot simply cancel. There are economic impacts. There are social impacts. There are societal impacts. We can't just put the word free in front of something and make it sound logical, because that's not how the world works.
Yeah, I like
free daycare, free college. At some point, we got to recognize these things cost money, and they got to come from somewhere, and they're coming from our great-grandchildren at this point. We've already spent our grandchildren's money. We're on to that next generation at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point. Seth, I got to ask you about this. The president had a huge announcement today on prescription drugs, something he's been working on for a while now. You're a healthcare expert. What did you make of his announcement?
Yeah, I think anything we can do to rein in the pharmaceutical industry and drug prices is powerful. What I don't necessarily understand are the mechanics of the favored nation status. The United States is responsible for roughly 75% of all innovation when it comes to healthcare. The rest of the world doesn't pay what we pay because they have price fixing. So if we want favored nation status, that's really more of a position that we need to take in our trade deals and from the State Department. It's not just say it and let it be true. I appreciate what they're doing. Eliminate rebates, get PBMs under control. These are all good things, but there's more details that need to happen.
Aaron, I was thinking about this today. You've got the president rolling out these vaccines, right? Pfizer announcing today that they're asking for emergency, whatever they do at the FDA, but basically they'll be able to roll it out. The president then today had this multi-pronged announcement about bringing down the price of prescription drugs. Do you think he's going to get the credit he actually deserves for doing these things?
I mean, the president almost better than anyone. Does he ever get credit for anything? No, of course not. And their convenient announcement when the vaccine was ready after the Biden victory, so to speak, was really ill-timed. I think the other thing that the president should do is focus on the fact that 97% of our antibiotics and pharmaceuticals are made in China. The president should sit down with these pharmaceutical companies and say, you need to bring these manufacturing jobs back to the United States. We are having a difficult time with our middle class. This is the perfect way to revitalize our middle class, bring jobs back to this country, and help the pharmaceutical companies look really, really good in the process. So I think that's something that the president should do, he will do, and once again, won't get credit for it.
You know, Seth, I know
I'm
there was...
100% on board.
Sorry, Sean.
No, I was just saying I'm 100. That's fine. If we bring this manufacturing back here, and we're doing this with the PPE, the prescription drugs, you're absolutely right. Like, stop worrying about all that. Like, we will solve so many problems if we start investing in America and we start creating incentives for American companies to manufacture this so much. I want to show you guys one quick video, though, from NBC News' Lester Holt, because he really is down about what's happening here, but it's interesting who he has to blame for this. I want to show this to you real quick.
As we cross the 250,000 mark of those we've lost to COVID in this country, we find ourselves going through a familiar ritual, a shake of the head, a deep sigh, and a sense of helplessness. But after that, what's left? Maybe anger. Do 250,000 deaths give us permission to be mad over these super spreader moments? Surely we know better by now. How about anger at those who refuse to wear masks or still cling to denial?
You know, Seth, real quick, we don't have a lot of time left, but it's interesting how all those super spreader events seem to come at the expense of the President of the United States, but none of the people who are out celebrating Joe Biden's election night seem to be part of that responsibility either.
Tired of this virtue signaling that we're doing with this pandemic, as if to say that this pandemic is a penance for everything that conservatives are doing that's evil. At the end of the day, this virus does not have a political agenda, and neither does the solutions that President Trump has proposed through Operation Warp Speed to solve for it. We mentioned drug manufacturers a moment ago, and Aaron is right on bringing APIs back, but here's the other thing. We wouldn't have a vaccine if not for our free market system and the push that the Trump administration gave to get them to develop this vaccine.
Yeah, that's right.
That's
We're
right.
definitely going to be talking more about that. All right, company quiz is up next. Aaron and Seth will be back. You don't want to miss it. Stay tuned.
All right, it's Friday, and if you're a first-timer, this is what's going to happen now. We do the company quiz. I know we have a ton of new viewers, so here's how this works. I take some stories making headlines in the news and ask related trivia questions. Here to play is current rating champ, healthcare analyst and author Seth Denson. And back with us, of course, is executive director of USA Strong, Aaron Elmore. And Lindsay, come on, join in as well. Are you guys all ready?
Ready.
All right, question one. The U.S. General Services Administration, or GSA, as it's normally called, is responsible for many things, including giving out office space and helping the government with its budget. The GSA is also the agency in the government that leads the presidential transition. The idea for the GSA started in 1947 when President Harry Truman asked a former president to head a commission to reorganize the operations of the federal government. Which U.S. president oversaw the creation of the GSA? A. Herbert Hoover, B. Calvin Coolidge, D. Teddy Roosevelt, or D. William Howard Taft? All right, let's get those letters up. Show me what you got. Come on.
I just saw a quiz about animals on my screen, so...
They were like rats and different things like that.
Rats.
Oh my gosh, what a way to start off a Friday. Everybody gets it right. That's right, Herbert Hoover. He did it. He led a commission on reorganizing the federal government and ended up combining at least 5 different agencies into one big administration. All right, guys, way to start. Question 2, we spoke about the MAGA March last weekend, whose participants clashed with counter-protesters near Black Lives Matter Plaza. The area is bordered to the south by Lafayette Square, cordoned off by a large security fence since this summer. The park is known for 5 magnificent statues, but it was famously overrun by what animal critters in the 1970s? A, raccoons, B, rats, C, mice, or D, squirrels? Come on, get those letters up. Let's get them up. Well, Dad, someone went and got that nut, and that was Seth Denson. That's right. He got it to squirrel. All right, Seth, yeah, that's right. The people kept feeding the eastern gray squirrels until they overran the park. Well, more than 15 years after destroying the trees and flowers and driving folks, the squirrels were scooped up by the park and sent somewhere. Who knows
Rats
where.
indeed.
Anyway,
Just too obvious.
question.
Yeah.
I know. Well, you know, you got to throw one in there. Question 3. We've been mentioning all week that Newsmax has not called the election yet. We know that the president is required to deliver a State of the Union address to the Congress, usually given in person. Someone from the opposing political party, though, is chosen to give a response to that address. Who was the first African-American woman to deliver a response to the State of the Union? Was it A, Eleanor Holmes Norton, B, Shirley Chisholm, C, Stacey Adams, or D, Maxine Waters? Let's get those letters up. All right, Seth and Lindsay both getting it right. That's right. C, Stacey Adams. In February of 2019, she delivered that response. All right. Question 4. Dr. Sebastian Gorka stood in Freedom Plaza as he spoke to that pro-Trump Million MAGA march in D.C. last weekend, surrounded by thousands of President Trump's supporters. He may or may not know that he was standing near a time capsule buried underneath the plaza where he was speaking. That time capsule, due to be opened again in the year 2088, contains personal items that belong to what famous American activist? A, Willie Guthrie, B, Martin Luther King Jr., C, Albert Einstein, or D, Jeanette Rankin? Let's get those letters up. Come on, guys. Wow, we're back on a roll. Everybody's right. That's right. All right. Seth Denson's up 4-3-2. That's right. Dr. King worked on his famous I Have a Dream speech in the Willard Hotel located right next to that plaza. And the capsule's supposed to be opened up, in 2088, but that'll be interesting. All right. Question 5. Thanksgiving is always held in the U.S. on the last Thursday of every November. This date was a tradition in most states even before President Lincoln made it an official holiday in 1863. In fact, it coincided with another popular holiday celebrating the British finally leaving the U.S. after the Revolutionary War. What was the name of that holiday? A, Patriots' Day, B, Victory Day, C, Liberty Day, or D, Evacuation Day? Let's get those letters up. I know you're probably like Googling over there. Oh, I've got 3 A's and 3 wrong answers. It was Evacuation Day, folks. You wouldn't have thought that. On November 25th, 1783, the British Army left New York City. General Washington then led the Continental Army across the Harlem River, straight down Manhattan to the southern tip of the island. Eventually, Wall Street became the original site of the U.S. Capitol. Huh? You learned something there. That's why this show is so informative. All right.
Every day.
All right. Question 6. All right. We just spoke to Franklin Graham, whose father, of course, was the infamous preacher Billy Graham. Billy Graham is the 4th private citizen to lie in honor at the Capitol. Remember, you lie in honor if you're a private citizen. You lie in state if you're in the government. The first 2 private citizens to lie in honor were the officers Jacob J. Chestnut and Detective John M. Gibson, who were killed by a gunman in the Capitol in 1988. Remember, those were folks going after Congressman Tom DeLay. Who was the 3rd private citizen to lie in honor, though? Was it A, Rosa Parks, B, Neil Armstrong, C, Coretta Scott King, or D, John Wayne? Get those letters up, guys. Let's get... Oh, we're going back with the A's, whatever this SAT thing you got going, but you all got it right. That's right. It was Rosa Parks. She died in 2005 and became the 3rd private citizen and the first woman to lie in honor in the Capitol, not to mention the first black woman to be bestowed that honor. All right, Seth Denson, right now, you are up 1 point, my friend, to Lindsay. This is a big deal. No one has ever gone 4 times in a row, Seth Denson. 4 times in a row. We don't even have a prize for this yet. All right. Question 7. All right. Matthew McConaughey said this week that he might run for governor of Texas. Which other celebrity ran for governor of New York? Was it A, Jon Stewart, B, Joe DiMaggio, C, Howard Stern, or D, Whoopi Goldberg? Let's get those letters up. Oh, my goodness. The only person that's right, Aaron, you nabbed it. That's right. You got it right. Howard Stern. Above all, but here's the kicker. Everyone that we mentioned did run for it, but Howard Stern ran as a libertarian and had 3 major goals. 1, to reinstate the death penalty. 2, to stagger tolls to reduce traffic in New York. And 3, to carry out road work throughout the night. That means Seth Denson, though, even though you got that last question wrong, you hung on, Seth Denson, by a thread, winning an unprecedented 4th consecutive company quiz.
I want to thank
have
my
a
mom,
beer on me. Do
my
you have
teacher,
one?
my Aunt Joe, who always made me play
drink.
Trivial Pursuit.
Where's
Yes,
the champagne? Congrats, Seth.
I'm glad you have. All right. Guys, thank you very much for joining us. Have a great weekend. I appreciate you being here. Lindsay and I will be right back after the break.